What's going on, guys? This is another episode here of Nolan's Pod. Last week the draft happened, so we're gonna recap that. This is the dog days of summer. Nothing's really going on right now in the sports world except for baseball. So that's why everything's slow. This is that time of the summer. Nothing's going on. Everybody's done playing. Everybody's getting the break. So everything is kind of slowed up right now. But as I mentioned, the draft happened last week, and we're gonna recap that right now. Um, I would tell you guys that this draft class was not a draft class to look forward to. This draft was not really talked about leading up to this draft. Um, One player that was talked about, of course, was Bronny James, the son of LeBron James. Um, I would tell you guys that the rest of the players that got drafted before Bronny, those guys weren't even talked about. So this draft class was the most boring draft class ever leading up to it. And unfortunately, the Hawks had the number one pick this year. I wish the Hawks would have had the number one pick last year when Victor Wembanyama got drafted. That would have been really, really cool. But of course, we get the number one pick when this draft class is probably one of the most sorriest draft class that we've seen in some time. With all due respect to the guys that got drafted in this draft, congratulations, well deserved. Y'all should have got drafted. Y'all deserved that. But with all due respect, this draft was the most boring draft class ever. And a lot of these players I never really watched and hadn't really heard them, and I'm sure that a lot of people I've seen a lot of people already. They like, who are these guys? We never heard of these guys. They never talked. The media never talked about these guys. It was all talk about Bronny. It just wasn't no like last year's draft. Leading up to this draft this year, it wasn't no excitement leading up to this draft this year like it was last year with the draft. So, give you guys some names on the guys who got drafted. As I mentioned, the Hawks had the number one pick. They selected Zachary Risa-Shea from France. Like I told you guys, I have not watched these guys. Never heard them until the draft night. I hope the Hawks are making the right decision. I honestly cannot tell you guys what to expect from this kid because I don't even know what to expect for myself. I don't know what to expect from myself. But I would tell you guys, the Hawks, I think that the Hawks probably made a bad decision, and I don't even know if this kid can play or not. Hopefully he can play. The Hawks have a history of making bad decisions, and I just think that this is one of those decisions that you just shake your head at the Hawks like, really, Hawks? But I can't even tell you guys. Like I said, I can't tell you guys if this kid's going to be good or not. Hopefully he works out. I feel like the Hawks made a bad draft pick, but a lot of these guys, in this draft class, you could probably make the case that they were all bad draft picks. So hopefully for the Hawks franchise in the city, the Hawks made the right draft choice, and hopefully I could go back to this episode and look back on it and say, okay, I was definitely wrong. The Hawks actually made the right choice for once in their life. Number 2 overall pick, the Washington Wizards selected Alex Sarr from France. He's a center. That's who I kind of feel like the Hawks should have got. Don't know much about Alex Sarr. Never seen him play. He's from overseas. He's from France. He's going to Washington. He was the number 2 overall pick. We're going to see what he's going to be. I can't even tell you what he's going to be. Hopefully it works out for the Wizards, as the Wizards are starting from scratch. And they're in a rebuild situation. So they're just starting from scratch. And they looking to build their roster. So Alex Sarr is where they're going to start at, and hopefully he works out. Number 3 overall pick, Reed Shepard out of Kentucky goes to Houston. I seen some highlights on him. He played at Kentucky. He's a good three-point shooter. He's a good three-point shooter, good shooter from the field, and a great free throw shooter. It's almost like he's a baby Stephen Curry. Obviously, you can't just compare anybody to Steph Curry, but from the highlights I've seen, he can knock down that tray ball, and he can knock down his jump shots, and he's a good free throw shooter. He's only I think 6'1", so he's probably not going to get after you defensively, but if you need shooting, he's your guy. Number 4 overall pick, Stephon Castle out of Connecticut is going to the Spurs. He's the number 4 overall pick. Seen some highlights on him. He's going to get after you defensively, as he should. And going to the Spurs, you're going to develop with the Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs organization have a history of developing guys. And Stephon Castle is one of those many young guys who he's going to be good. The Spurs are going to develop him well. No question about that. Number 5 overall pick, Ron Holland II, was drafted out of the G League. He's going to Detroit, the Pistons. Ron Holland, seen some highlights on him. He's one of those guys who can fill it up. If he makes 1 or 2 shots in a row, look out, because he's going to kill you. He's one of those guys, he's like almost kind of like a Jamal Crawford, J.R. Smith. They get hot, good luck trying to stop them. If they're cold, then they just cold. I think the Pistons got a good draft pick right there. Number 7 overall pick, Donovan Clingan out of Kentucky is going to the Trailblazers. He's a center. I watched his story. I actually watched his story, seriously. I really did watch his story behind. His motivation is from his mom, who passed away. Bless his heart. My prayers go out to him. I think his mom passed away when he was younger. So that was his motivation. And, he was just saying that his mom would be really proud to know that he's in the league, to know that he's in the NBA. And just seeing some of his highlights at Kentucky, he's going to be good. He's a center. He's going to be good. He's going to be okay. Because his mom was looking down on him. He's going to be fine. He's going to be good. He can do some damage in that paint, I can tell you that. And he's probably going to be a good shot blocker, too. So congratulations to Donovan Clingan. Number 8 overall pick, San Antonio Spurs selected again. Number 8 overall pick, Rob Dillingham out of Kentucky. I think they traded for Rob. Yes, Rob Dillingham got traded. He was drafted with the San Antonio Spurs, but he got traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves. So he's going to be playing with Ant-Man and Cat and them. That's good. When Mike Conley retires and it's finally done, Rob Dillingham will be able to step right in, because Rob Dillingham, he's also one of those bucket getters too. So, and I hear that Rob Dillingham is a very funny guy. So him being on a team with Ant-Man, that is comedy by itself, and he's going to be a guy that Ant-Man certainly is going to take under his wing, because, like I said, if Rob Dillingham gets going too, he's going to fill it up. No question about that. The number 9 overall pick in this draft goes to the Memphis Grizzlies, and that's Zach Edey, center out of Purdue. I think that the Grizzlies they are very underrated with that pick. Very underrated with that pick. Zach Edey, center out of Purdue. We know what Zach Edey did in college. 2-time player of the year in college, back-to-back years in a row. He's a center. The Grizzlies needed a center after trading away Steven Adams. They addressed that, and they got a center. That's a very underrated pick. It's very rare that you see these teams, because, forgive me, but these teams, these owners, these GMs, they do stupid things by selecting the wrong players and a player that your team does not need. The Grizzlies actually did a smart thing. They did the right thing. You need a center. You go out and you get a center. And they drafted a center because they needed a center, because, as I mentioned, they traded away Steven Adams. They need rebounding. They need somebody who can block shots. They need somebody who can finish. You throw the ball inside, and the center's going to finish. They got Zach Edey. Good job, Grizzlies. Y'all did something smart. These other teams and GMs and general managers take a page out the Grizzlies book. When you have a team need, go out and get the guy that you actually need and somebody that you don't need. And with the Grizzlies, as long as they stay healthy, as long as Ja Morant stays healthy, as long as Marcus Smart stays healthy, as long as Ja Morant stays out of trouble, the Grizzlies are going to get right back to where they were. I have no question about that. They're getting right back to where they were, to where they picked up and where they left off. Number 10 overall pick, Cody Williams, comes out of Colorado. He goes to Utah. I did not know that Jalen Williams for OKC, J-Dub, I did not know that he had a brother, and his brother is Cody Williams. It's rare that you see a draft pick coming out of Colorado, especially basketball-wise. I did not know that J-Dub had a brother, so, that's good for him. And Utah, they were slick. They were really slick in this draft. They made some underrated draft picks. They were another team, just like the Memphis Grizzlies. They made some underrated draft picks in this draft. So watch out for what Danny Ainge is doing. Danny Ainge is one of those rare GMs, and he's actually smart with what he's doing. He's smart. Every move that Danny Ainge has made throughout his career as president of basketball operations, I should say, rather than GM. All the moves that Danny Ainge has made in his career, as far as being president of ops, he's been smart. And as I mentioned, the Jazz, Utah, they selected some underrated picks in this draft. They are another team, just like Memphis. Underrated draft picks. Number 16 overall pick, Jared McCain out of Duke is going to number 16 draft pick. Jared McCain out of Duke is going to the 76ers. I've seen Jared McCain's highlights. He's going to be good. He's one of those guys who can get you a bucket too. He's one of those guards that's going to get you a bucket. Very underrated player. He's almost like a kind of Tyrese Maxey, and he's going to the same team that Tyrese Maxey's on. So that's another thing. Tyrese Maxey's going to take him under his wing, and he's going to be okay. Jared McCain, he's going to be okay. He's going to be good. No question about it. The thing I stress with these guys is y'all give them an opportunity to play. Give these guys an opportunity to play. If you're not giving them an opportunity to play, send them down to the G League where they're going to get some playing time. And they're going to get the reps in instead of just sitting them on the bench. They ain't getting no reps in. They not playing. That's not helping them. That ain't helping their confidence. Let these guys play or send them to the G League. Let them get some reps. Let them get some development. You know what I'm saying? But Jared McCain's going to be fine. I think he's going to be in the right situation with the 76ers. Number 17 overall pick, the Los Angeles Lakers selected Dalton Knight out of Tennessee. Dalton Knight, he's a shooter, and I mean shooter. I mean run him off some pin downs, run him off some pin down screens, get him open. All JJ Redick is like JJ Redick when he played. All JJ Redick has to do is get Dalton Knight open for a wide open jump shot. He's gonna knock it down. He's one of those guys like Stephen Curry. You leave him open, you're gonna regret that you did it. He's like Kyle Korver. He's like Ray Allen. You leave him open, and you're going to regret that you left him open because he's going to knock it down more times than not. And I think he's, 6'9", 6'8". So for a small forward, he is at the size he needs to be. But for a shooter that can hit the long ball like he can and can come off with a screen and shoot, they're going to have a hard time. Defenders are going to have a hard time blocking his shot. That's what I would tell you. I think that the Lakers got to steal. People don't know how good that Dalton Knight could really be. But he's one of those guys that if LeBron or AD's getting double teamed, if you kick it out to him, he's going to knock down the shot. Trust me. Number 27 overall pick goes to the Minnesota Timberwolves, Terrence Shannon Jr. out of Illinois. Terrence Shannon Jr. had his legal battles off the court, but obviously he got past that, and that's good for Terrence Shannon Jr. He's good. I watched him a little. This is actually one of the guys that I actually watched a little bit in college. He's a bucket. He's a bucket. He has the potential to average about 18 to 20 points per game if he really wants to. The more reps he gets, the development that he gets is going to be crucial because this kid, he has it. He has the potential. He has the potential. I'm telling y'all, he has the potential. Another underrated pick in this draft. That kid has the potential. All he needs to do is keep his head screwed on straight, and he's going to be just fine. He's going to be just fine. Just needs to keep his head screwed on straight and just focus and worry about basketball. He's going to be good. Mark my words. Number 32 overall pick, the Utah Jazz selected center Kyle Filipowski out of Duke. He goes to Utah. Didn't I just tell you guys that Utah was another underrated team that had a really good draft in this draft? Didn't I tell you guys that President of Basketball Operations, Danny Ainge, he always does this thing by selecting good players and making good trades? This is one of those selections that Danny Ainge has made for his team. It's underrated. Jason Tatum even said that Kyle Filipowski, he should have went earlier in the draft instead of going in the second round. Well, Utah got a steal. I really think Utah got a steal, and it's another good draft asset. Kyle is out of Duke. We know what he can do inside that paint, and he's going to do the same thing for Utah. Now, Utah already has a center. His name is Walker Kessler. I think he's going to be getting traded, especially since they just got Kyle. So, we will see what happens with that. But last but not least, my last pick that I want to give to you guys is the number 55 overall pick from the Los Angeles Lakers out of USC, Bronny James. He's going to play with his son. Well, rather, he's going to play with his dad. He's going to play with his dad. I would tell you guys that that's going to be the first time that that's done in NBA history. You guys don't know how cool that is, but it's cool to be on a team with your dad, let alone playing with him and actually making it this far. We didn't know if Bronny would be able to ever play basketball again with the condition that he almost had a year ago. We didn't know what his basketball future was going to hold. We didn't know if he was going to be able to play. Almost a year later, here we are. He gets drafted. He's going to play with his dad. We probably won't ever see this again. So instead of hating on this, we should actually enjoy this, embrace this, and cherish this. Because like I just said to you guys, we might not ever see this again. The only thing I don't like about it is how LeBron's agent and Bronny's agent, Rich Paul, handled the situation by threatening the other teams not to draft Bronny, or else Bronny was going to go play for Australia. First of all, you shouldn't be threatening other teams not to draft Bronny. Second of all, these teams could draft whoever they want. Third of all, the Boston Celtics, the arch rival of the Los Angeles Lakers, had the 54th overall pick. The Lakers had the 55th overall pick. If the Boston Celtics wanted to be petty, they could have drafted Bronny if they wanted to. Go play for Australia. Okay, cool. The Boston Celtics don't need Bronny anyway. They just want a championship. But if they really want to be petty, they could have drafted Bronny. Or any other team, for that matter, could have drafted Bronny. The Hawks could have drafted Bronny number 1 pick. Wizards could have drafted Bronny number 2 pick. Houston could have drafted Bronny number 3 pick. But that did not happen, obviously. He's going to play with his dad, as I mentioned. I just don't like Rich Paul threatening other teams saying, don't draft Bronny. I don't like that. That did not sit well with me. So if I had something to be mad at out of all of this, it's that Rich Paul threatened those other teams. And no consequences is behind that. Now, one thing I would tell you guys about Bronny playing with his dad, I can speak on this better than anybody because I know what that's like. I know what that's like. We're not famous. I'm not famous. My dad's not famous. But I still know what it's like. I bowled on the team with my dad. Did it when I was younger. I'm doing it now. So I know all the things that Bronny's feeling. He's going to be playing with his dad. His dad is LeBron James. You have to live up. He has to try to live up to that. I know the pressure that comes with that. I know that Bronny is going to try to make a name for himself and not through his dad. I know all the pressure. I know everything that comes with it. I've been there. I've done it. I'm still doing it. I know. He wants to have his own footsteps. He wants to set his own narrative. He doesn't want to be put in his father's shoes. I know that pressure. When I bowled with my dad when I was younger, I wanted to follow in my dad's footsteps too. You know what I'm saying? I like my dad, he bold, he good. I want to be good too, you know what I'm saying? I know the pressure that comes with it. I do. I really, really, really do. And then as I got older, probably about 15, 16, 17, I'm like, okay, these people in this boat now, they know me because of my dad. And I'm like, that's cool. We used to joke around and be like, yeah, I'm known because of me. But, people knew me because of my dad. And when I got about 15, 16, 17, I'm like, man, I want to make a name for myself. I don't want to come in this bowling alley and people knowing me through my dad. I want to make a name for my own self. I want people to know me for me and not know me through my dad. So I probably about 15, 16, 17, I'm like, man, I got to create a name for my own self. I got to start creating a name for my own self. I got to create my own legacy and not through my dad. So that's what I'm saying when I say that. So, and then as my dad being as good as a bowler as he was, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, I got to follow in his footsteps. And that is a lot of pressure to try to follow in his footsteps. And, you have to be your own person. You got to be your own man. So once I realized that, you know what I'm saying, I need to be my own self and I can't follow in my dad's footsteps and I need to follow my own footsteps, then I started realizing like, okay, it's no pressure no more because I'm not trying to be like my dad. I ain't trying to be better than him. You know what I'm saying? I'm creating my own path. And that's the same thing that Bronny's going to have to do. Unfortunately for Bronny, it's a disadvantage because his dad is LeBron James. So he ain't going to never get away with that. And then when you got media in your ear all the time, they reminding you constantly talking about your dad to you too. You know what I'm saying? You like, what the heck? You know what I'm saying? You don't be wanting to hear it. You know what I'm saying? You want to create a path for your own self. And that's the biggest thing that I worry about Bronny doing because his dad is LeBron. His dad isn't just somebody like Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon's a guard in the NBA. Or somebody like Iman Shepherd, somebody like that, you know what I'm saying? Your daddy is LeBron James, so you always gonna have that standard that you gonna have to live up to. That's all I'm trying to tell you guys. So as I told you guys, I know how it feels. I know what Bronny's gonna be going through. And Bronny, you just got to be your own self. You got to be your own person. You got to be your own man. That's all you have to do. And it's easier said than done, but Bronny's probably not going to never be able to live up to what his dad do. That does not mean that Bronny's not going to be good. It's just hard to live up to what his dad has done because his dad has accomplished so much throughout his NBA career that's hard for anybody to live up to. That's hard for any player to live up to. Am I right or am I wrong? If I'm wrong, please tell me that I'm wrong. But I would think that most people will agree that I'm right. So, Bronny, he got it. He got it. You know what I'm saying? He just got to create a path for his own self, and he will be just fine. That concludes the draft coverage. My next episode that I have for you guys is NBA free agency, which that has gotten crazy. So I will have that for you guys soon. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know if you guys think that this was the most boring draft class of some recent time. In my opinion, it was. But let me know what you guys think.